Good evening. Good evening. Welcome back. It is another Inspire and Be Inspired. Our weekly conversations with some of the most influential people that we've met along the way. If it's the first time that you're watching, then a very brief introduction. My name is Andy Ward. It is just turned 8 o'clock here on the Costa Blanca, where I live. And to most of you guys over in the UK, just turned 7 o'clock. Good evening, one and all. We do get quite a few passing through, so feel free to leave a comment. Let me know you're here. And also, a lot of people do come back and watch the recordings. I want to start off by giving a massive shout out to Justin Bond, who's been promoting the hell out of this conversation tonight. I know he's very interested in all that we're going to have to say. Also, hi to Joe. Thank you for being here nice and early. Shouts out to Jeremy Braithwaite as well. You can see everything is working fine. I am going to just get straight in to the conversation and introduce you to my guest tonight. Legends in their own right from the second city. You can't see anything at the moment because my overlays decided to play up, but if I click that button and refresh it, then it's all working fine. We have in completely the wrong windows. Let me just change you guys around. DJ Dick and Adam Regan. There we go. DJ Dick in the top, Adam Regan in the bottom. Good evening, guys. How are you?
Good, thanks, mate.
Very well, Andy.
Good.
Very
Technical issues every single week without fail. About 30 seconds before we were meant to go live, my internet decided to pack up, so I had to reboot, get everything ready again. But we're rocking and rolling. Hi to Ross, hi to Jackie, and again, hi to anybody else passing through. I gave the guys a little bit of a heads up before. Adam was very gracious with some words he shared on Facebook earlier in the week, saying that he's enjoyed the series of conversations, and so he's looking forward to being part of it tonight. So thank you very much for that, Adam. You both know what's going down. We're looking to capture some of your stories on how you became seen to be very influential in the second city. We're not going to be able to, get your life story down month by month, year by year, and we don't go back as far as the war, as Adam was joking about Dick's story earlier. But it's going to be interesting to hear both of your stories. I think it's only fair, Adam, that we have age before beauty, don't you?
Definitely get the old fella on. It's his bedtime soon, so
True.
So we go to DJ Dick. Would you like to announce to the world your official name?
Richard Whittingham or Ricardo Whittingham.
Wonderful. For many weeks, we've been talking to many other people in Birmingham, and I got to put a stamp on the evening. We're calling it Brum as fuck, because that's what we all are. And on every occasion when I've spoke to influential figures in Birmingham, your name has cropped up again and again. So it's going to be interesting to hear from the horse's mouth, so to speak. We need to begin at the beginning. Tell us what year you were born, if you don't mind.
I was born in 1961, June.
Okay. June 1961. Okay. Are you Gemini like myself?
Cancer.
Okay. Well, that puts a timestamp on the era that you were born. So tell us about some of your early memories. And what area you're from, first of all.
I'm a Solihull boy.
Okay. Are you actually Solihull or are you Castle Bromwich and you say you're from Solihull?
Alton Solihull.
Wonderful. Okay, so tell us about life in Solihull in the early 60s.
Wow. I lived in suburbia in a little bungalow my dad built. Went to Chapelfield's infant school, Chapelfield Juniors, then moved on to Linden High School for boys, which turned comprehensive in the third year. And that's when it went downhill for me from then on, the third year onwards.
Okay, so third year, all of these crazy years they pull out now. So from the age of 13, 14 kind of scenario.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay, so mid 70s, it started to go downhill. Downhill, why? Running with the wrong crowds or girls or what?
Girls.
Good, good, good,
Just
good, good.
lost interest in school after that.
Good man, good man. And was music was music a big part of your life at this stage?
No, it wasn't really. It was when I was sort of in my last year of school, 77, and punk hit is when music really hit me. And there was a group of guys there that used to go to a club called Barbarella's in Birmingham, just top of Broad Street, which was a punk club. Also a soul club as well, disco and soul club, which is a great combination. And yeah, I just wanted to go with them into town and experience a nightclub. So begged my parents to be able to go out, and thank God they let me go. I was underage and never looked back.
Did you have any older siblings who you looked up to?
Yeah, two brothers. I'm a twin, so I've got a twin sister.
Okay.
And two older brothers. My middle brother was a big Bowie fan, and my older brother got into so much stuff, Beatles to prog rock, Bloodwind Pig, Hawkwinds, Yes, lots of stuff like that.
So a diverse musical taste.
My mum and dad's generation was more crooners, like Sinatra, all that kind of era, Dean Martin.
Mm-hmm. So your first experiences of hitting town, Broad Street was a very different place back in the mid-70s, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. And Broad Street was nothing like it is now, or what it was like, when it was lined with bars. It was Lee Longland's one cafe, a pub, and that was it. And a nightclub off one of the side streets.
Mm-hmm. So Barbarella's, when you went in there, can you recall who was DJing, or was it sometime after when you really started to pay that much attention?
Yeah, no, I mean, straight away I was sort of attracted to what the DJ was doing. And it was a guy called Wayne. I never knew his surname, but pretty quickly befriended him. And that was my first experience of DJing. He used to, when the bands used to come on, he used to go off and have a drink, and I used to sit in the DJ booth, and you could guarantee he wouldn't come back when the band had finished. So I'd end up putting a record on.
Okay.
But from that first day in Barbarella's, I was addicted to buying vinyl and spent most of my money as an apprentice carpenter. Every day I get off the bus in Acott's Green, go into the Easy Listening record shop, and always come out with a couple of 7-inches.
Right. Okay. Well, that's a little insight into your early days. Let's come to Adam now. Interested in listening to that story, Adam. You've Dick's got a few years on both of us. I believe we're about the same age. You born 69, 70?
Oh, blimey, you're pushing it there. I'm 71, mate.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, dragging me down there, aren't you? No, I was born in January 1971, so there's 10 years between me and Richard. Mm-hmm. So I kind of, my influences and my kind of early days were obviously a decade on.
Mm-hmm. And are you were you always from the other side of town?
My mum and dad were both from Bawdsley Green. And when I was born, they moved to Hales Owen. So I think for the first 4 years of my life, we lived in Hales Owen, and then moved back to Birmingham to Harborne when I was 4, I think. And then just lived Harborne, Selly Park, Moseley, Kings Heath, all around that part, really. And I've been here ever since. Okay.
So some of your early memories then of life in the mid to late 70s?
Blimey. Hales Owen, I don't remember much about, really. But Harborne, I went to a Catholic school, St Mary's in Harborne, because my dad's Irish Catholic. And it was weird because I'm not a Catholic.
Right.
So I went to a Catholic school and was always the one that stood at the back in, at mass and didn't go forward to get body of Christ. So that was always weird and made me feel like a bit of an outsider. But I think that kind of set the stall out for the rest of my life, because I always felt like a bit of an outsider in things. And I think that was probably traced back to that, really, because it's quite an odd feeling when all your mates are getting up in church and you're the one sitting back there. But it was, they were happy memories. I loved school. I loved junior school. But much like Richard, when I went to senior school, by third year, it all went horribly wrong. I was like really academic, really bright. So I went to King Edward's, Camp Hill, just over the road in King's Heath. And for the first few years, it all went well. I was doing well. And then I think similar thing, girls, really. And I just stopped giving, a shit about school. And being at a high kind of like a grammar school where everyone's expecting you to do well, that was really made even more of a kind of a sin. He was like, Jesus, you're at this amazing school and you're not caring and I think I left in 1987 with 2 O-levels, and I was the last year that did O-level, and I got 2, I think 2 or 3. And my headmaster pulled me into his office and said, "You are an absolute disgrace to this school."
Brilliant. Amazing. Well,
yeah, it is what it is, isn't it? I went to Cadbury College after that and got my resits, and then went to university and got a degree. And yeah, grammar school wasn't for me, though, definitely.
I relate to that story. I actually went, I'm not sure we've ever spoke about this. I went to King Edward's in Frederick Road in Aston. And very, very much the same story. I was meant to stay on for my A-levels, and I did a year of my A-levels, but it was just too difficult. So I ended up leaving work and getting a YTS after 1 year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, after 1 year, not even consulting my parents. I just did it. But anyway, this is your story, not mine. So tell us about your first memories of music, Adam.
I suppose getting to the age of I was always into music. Like, I always played guitar and sang, and my mom's really musical. So it was always around me all my life, like growing up. Much to my horror, my mom used to kind of encourage me to do these little guitar concerts when I was about 13.
For the family.
Thankfully, there's no, it was actually on a beach in North Wales, like when we'd go and stay with loads of other families. And I'd be bullied into doing these concerts. But, they were good fun. But looking back on them now, I'm glad there was no video phones back there. So music was always like a big part of my life, but I didn't really get into club music, I suppose, until 16, 17. I left school, went to Cadbury College, and then obviously met a whole different range of people, including my girlfriend at the time, who's also the mother of my kids. Her family, like, she had an older brother and sister, and they were really cool. And like he ran a t-shirt shop in Brighton, and they were just really into music. And Vanessa's cousin, Sarah Bennett, who is Charlotte Colgan's sister, was also very well connected in Birmingham. So we used to go out to little underground parties and bars and clubs and lock-ins. And so I had quite a privilege. Sort of 17 onwards, I was going to some really cool things, and really getting into music.
Well, we've got a hell of a lot of story to catch up on for you towards the from then onwards. But to get us to that point, Dick was responsible for a lot of the clubs and a lot of the scene that we would have emerged onto. So I think it's important to find out, understand how that all came about, Dick. Is there a way that you can pinpoint how it all started for you?
Well, of course, it definitely was Barbarella's punk. And then I was just hooked to nightclubs and going out. Then we moved on to a club in the Romulus, which ended up being on Hagley Road, which ended up being Liberties.
Okay.
But it was called the Romulus at the time, and it was King Tut's downstairs in the basement. And the DJ there played Bowie, Ferry, Kraftwerk, all that kind of stuff. So we frequented that club for a while. And we used to walk to get the night bus home. We used to walk from the Romulus on the Hagley Road down Broad Street, past the Rum Runner club to get into town to Colmore Road to get the night bus home. And we used to turn our noses up at the Rum Runner because it was a kind of known as a sort of disco Studio 54 kind of club. And I was never to know that.
Too glamorous kind of thing.
Yeah, at the time, yeah. But then, so when would this have been? This would have been 79, around the 79 time. Unbeknown to me, I'd be working there for 3 years DJing, but they started a night there. The lads from Duran Duran worked there and started a night there on a Tuesday night, which was Bowie and Ferry night. Of course, I went to that, and Nick Rhodes of Duran Duran was DJing. And then, of course, with Duran Duran, it became too busy for him to carry on DJing. Then a couple of twins, Ian and Laurie, I think their surname was Smith, but don't quote me on that. They took over, but they didn't really come from the Bowie and Ferry scene. So I used to take records in for them to play.
Right.
I say, you need to play this, you need to play this, you need to play this. And then I heard that they were leaving, and I said, look, just put a word in for me. I'd love to DJ here. Never DJed before, except for putting the odd record on in Barbarella's. And of course, I got the job. And I DJed there for 3 years, from 80 to 83. And what a club, it's a famous club, It
is famous, but tell us about it, because I'm quite oblivious to the inner workings of it all, really. But before you do that, I just want to ask, someone just sent me a WhatsApp, and I don't want to try and read it because it'll mess up everything I've got working. If there's any issues with the sound, anybody, if my mic's not loud enough or whatever, then just please let me know in the comments. Carry on, Dick. Sorry. Yeah. So tell us about Rum Runner. I want to know all about it. I want to know about the clientele. I want to know about the size of the venue, because it's very easy to mention these things because you know it so well. But I've heard about it so much, and I don't really know the first thing about it.
Yeah, I mean, wow. I mean, it's been a club. It was a club since the 60s, I think. It had a casino in there. I think it was probably the biggest casino in Europe at the time. When we went there, when we started to frequent the place, the casino had gone. But they'd sort of turn it into Paul and Michael Burrows, who owned the club, or their family owned it. They took over it. They also were the managers of Duran Duran. Sort of turned it into a Studio 54. It was all mirrored out. There was rum barrels that you could sit in, which were cool. The entrance down to it from Broad Street was a really long slope downwards, almost going into a cellar. And they had speakers in the walkway down. It was very exciting going down there and there was always a big queue to get in, and they were very choosy on the door. And so Tuesday night was the Bowie Ferry night, if you like. And then they had soul nights and funk nights, like on a Friday night. And of course, the Tuesday night Bowie and Ferry night was very, very popular. For a Tuesday night, it was busy. 600, 700 capacity club. There was a bar sort of in the centre. It's hard to explain. The DJ booth was like a glass booth. Then there was the dance floor. Then there was a square bar which you could walk all the way around. And I was then asked, after DJing on a Tuesday night for quite a while, we were asked to share the soul night, which was very strange. So we'd have the soul and funk till midnight, and then I'd come on and play Bowie and Ferry and Kraftwerk and T-Rex till 2:00 in the morning. But it got to a point where it was, people only wanted to hear Bowie and Ferry and electronic stuff, and we ended up doing the whole Friday night, and then the Tuesday night stopped. But yeah, it was great experience.
So this
for the first time, DJing in a club, I was sort of thrown in at the deep end, really.
Would that have been around about the? So I'm just pulling some things out here just to make sure.
Well, we've lost you, Andrew.
Can you hear me? You got me?
I've got you. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Between us, it's.
He keeps freezing, doesn't he?
Yeah. I don't know if it's you, Dick, or whatever. Brian's saying the sound is fine. I don't know. Can you hear me now, Dick? Hear me now.
Hear me now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got me. So
you're back.
I'm putting a timestamp on this. So this would have, and forgive me and correct me if I'm wrong, from the names that you're saying and the era that you mentioned, it would have been on the around about the new romantic, the explosion of the new romantic.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly what it was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Okay,
yeah.
So then the Tuesday's finished because
everyone was coming on a Friday.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So by
then, you've got to remember that in Birmingham at the time, most of the clubs in Birmingham, if you didn't wear a shirt and a tie, you were never getting in.
Yeah.
So we were free on the door with all that. I mean, there was a certain look and a certain dress and a certain hairstyle, of course. And if you had a shirt and tie, you were definitely not getting in. So, so yeah, and we were attracting those kind of people, which was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have to wear eyeliner to get in?
Oh yeah, a bit of that.
Bit of eyeliner, guy liner as you called it.
Guy liner. Bit of henna in the hair.
So as the Golden Boys, as their rise to fame, did the Duranis ever come back and get involved with parties at the Rum Runner stuff?
They did a gig there. Yeah, they did a gig there. Yeah, but didn't get involved with anything like that. They were too busy doing, touring the world and.
So when people cite you as being so important in the story of Birmingham at the Rum Runner and things like that, were you involving other people to come along and play with you as well? Where do you feel you gained such respect from people down the years because of the music that you were playing, the music you were finding, or your technical ability? Well, you weren't beat matching at this point, right?
No, not at all. I mean, most of it was live bands, wasn't it? Until the electronic stuff, of course, but Kraftwerk stuff. But we certainly wasn't mixing. But yeah, I mean, I don't know why people think I was so special at the time, or when I moved on to other clubs. But I'm playing other people's music at the end of the day. But I don't know, the right place, right time, I suppose. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I could just jump in there, I think with Dick, a lot of people have that kind of respect because obviously Rum Runner was the start, but then after that came a lot of things, and like Dial B was a massive club, and Rococo was a massive club, and then Breathless, Cake, Snobs,
Mm-hmm.
all big clubs, and then obviously Leftfoot we started together. So I think it's because he was involved with so many groundbreaking clubs or nights is why people hold him in such respect.
Yeah, I know. I suppose sort of following a trend or not staying in one particular genre of music or style. I mean, I remember somebody criticizing me for changing the kind of music I was playing regularly, or maybe starting another club and it was totally different from the club before. I was criticized for that, but.
And were they conscious decisions because from a business point of view, or it was just that you were being moved by the music you were hearing? And so
moved by the music.
Mm-hmm.
Moved by the music. I wanted to hear. I always want to hear fresh stuff. I always want to, move forward as well as we look to the past. When we were DJing as well, and of course, the whole new romantic scene, of course there was new music. There always new music comes out of a scene, but it all starts from Roxy music in the 70s, Bowie in the 70s, but we were doing it in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
But the bands that come out of it, that's the great thing about a scene, isn't it? With fresh music that comes out of a scene.
Mm-hmm. And you hear it so many times when people are deep in conversation, too busy actually living it all to really pay attention to where you are, where you're at, what you're creating, the scene around you. And then when you look back, you think, wow, that's you must have thought that at some point as the times changed, and of course the 80s were just a mental time to be living, with the rise of the yuppie and the wine bar and the scene changing from that aspect. Even from my aspect, I can vividly picture the 80s. I mean, it must be the same for you as well, Adam, right? That wine bar culture and the talking, stating the obvious, but the brick mobile phones and everything like that. It's very vivid memories in our lifetimes.
Yeah, definitely. There was that kind of whole kind of ostentatious 80s kind of big hair, girls with big hair and guys with sort of, big hair. Let's be honest. Everyone had big hair. But yeah, I know, obviously that was, for me, 87 is probably when I first started going out, 87, 88. So I was kind of, I suppose in 87, when I was 16, I was going to like Her Street. No, not Her Street. What's the other one? John Bright Street, that had like Edwards, was it number 7, number 8?
7s and 8s and Boogies.
And there was Boogies, and there was a few other, and that was where that was the kind of Broad Street of its day, wasn't it?
Uh-huh.
I remember going to those sort of places, but then obviously when I got to 17, 18, it was going to kind of like lock-ins at the Queen's Tavern and Mike Horseman's parties and Notes and kind of Rococo and places like that were really exciting, and just felt like exactly where I wanted to be, and like it instantly gave me a feeling of this is
belonging for once.
Yeah, totally belonging and feeling part of something, and just being totally moved by music. I remember going to Rococo. I was really into like hip hop and rare groove and soul and funk and stuff like that. And hearing house, like I think Dick and Bill, and was it Nathan that used to play with you at Rococo?
Nathan did a little bit, yeah. You'd
hear like the odd like Chicago house record, and it was like, this is mad. I wasn't hugely into house at first, I'll be honest. It took me until late 80s, early 90s to really get into it, but that was probably to do with experiences that I had around those times. But
well, let me just say, I said I want to make this as interactive as I can. Justin is saying thank you to Dick and Nigel for always keeping you in the cake releases and with the compilations, and coming to DJ for him most of the times that he asks. You were always a truly top bloke. You, Adam, also for allowing him to put on events down at the Hare, which we'll get to. Maximum love and respect to you both. So that's from Mr. Bond. And also shouts out to Magoo, someone who I spent a lot of my formative years with. He says, Adam, thank you for giving me the platform at the Medicine Bar, especially the Substance days, even though we partied together for years. So big shout out to Magoo. A lot of fun memories growing up with that gentleman. So let's bring it back. Let's dial it back. Excuse the pun. To Dial B, somebody mentioned in the past, and Adams drew reference to it just now. Was that a night that you began, Dick? Oh, he's gone again.
He's just contemplating, isn't he?
Yeah. He's gone again, is it?
No, I've got you.
Go on.
You're back?
Yeah, got you.
Dial B, talk to us.
Dial B. Shouts out to Susan as well, my old school friend. Hi, Susan.
Yeah.
Go on, mate. Sorry. Dial B. We're there.
Yeah. Let me think. So Rum Runner. Well, from the Rum Runner, I left the Rum Runner with Nigel Blunt and Jimmy Wren. Nigel Blunt was the manager of the Rum Runner. and Jimmy Wren was the bar manager of the Rum Runner. And we left to start a club on Bradford Street in a strip club. I can't remember the name of the strip club now, but we started a club called the Tin Can Club, which was predominantly live bands. And we, so we put on, Sade was the first, was one of, it was the first gig in Birmingham, Sade. Bands like Ultravox, Magazine, a real selection of bands. And then I left that, and Jimmy and Nigel carried on promoting live bands there. From the Tin Can Club, can't remember, but Dial B wasn't far behind that. A friend of mine, Nick Smith, who was a saxophone player, really into jazz, said that he'd heard about this venue called the Portland Club, which was the Anglers Association meeting point. That was their headquarters, if you like.
Sounds glamorous.
Exactly, yeah. And I thought, what are you talking about? Anyway, we went to have a look at the place, and it was a huge venue, a really big hall. I don't know why we said we'd give it a go, but we did. And we named it a Dial B, but it was a Rum Runner reunion.
Okay.
And in those days, there was no internet, so everything was done with flyers. We had to put flyers into shops. We bill posted the hell out of Birmingham. Got arrested many times for doing it. But yeah, anyway, we put tickets out everywhere into Swordfish Records, those kind of shops. And Nick called me one day and said, "You're not going to believe this, but we've sold out." It was a 800 capacity venue, maybe. And again, we were playing Bowie and Ferry, but we were edging into newer stuff at the time, Tom Tom Club. Moving that way, moving into a bit more funk and stuff. And we ran that for maybe 3 or 4 years, maybe. And then from there, we moved to the Tower Ballroom.
Okay.
And then we were starting to move more into dance stuff. The acid house thing was starting to happen.
So that was Rococo.
That was Rococo, yeah.
Okay, so where did that name come from?
Rococo came from. There was a guy in London called Graham Ball that ran a lot of big clubs in London.
Graham Wall, did you say?
Graham Ball.
I was going to say. Okay.
No, not Graham Wall. Not Graham Wall, the DJ here in Birmingham. And he was going to call a night Rococo, and he didn't use it in the end, so I nicked it off him.
Right.
And we called it Rococo, yeah.
I've got memories in my head of Rococo, black and white or something. Was that a theme? One of the evenings was a black and white party at some point?
No, it was just all the flyers and posters and stuff.
Oh, that was just the designs.
All black and white, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Didn't it have like a black and white check dance floor? Am I imagining that?
No.
I can't think the reservoir.
We had a lot. No. Well, hold on. Where are we? We're talking Tower Ballroom. No, not that I can remember.
I don't know what I'm thinking about.
We were talking the other week, and it was a case of, it was very much, you had your different tribes, for want of a better word, your Folio 50 gang, and then your New Romantic gang, and then I'm not sure that, because it's all very hazy, as I'm sure we all understand why. But then I remember there was all drapes, and it went from funk and rare groove and everything one week to acid house the next, and everyone in like their acid clothes. I'm sure there was a longer period. There was a longer period of time, but that's my memory of the transition.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely, yeah. And I mean, we were playing hip hop, we were playing acid house. we're playing funk. It was, James Brown. It was across the board.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the hip hop in that era that you were playing was faster, wasn't it? It wasn't like 90 BPM. It was, there was a lot of hip hop at kind of not far off house tempo. Well, it's slower than house, but there was a lot of like 110, 120 BPM.
Yeah.
Big Daddy Kane, a tune that always reminds me of that era. So
A Good Number is the one that always reminds me.
Yeah.
What was that? Yeah, doing the dance.
Oh, we would do it.
And so you were spinning at all of these parties, Dick. Some of the names. Was there a big guest DJ culture back then, or was it just you and your friends?
Yeah, not at all. There'd probably be two of us DJing. Billy would warm up, and then I'd do the sort of main slot.
So tell me, to put a timestamp on that for me, for my battered brain.
Your battered brain. So where are we?
I know, because I was 17. It was 88, 89.
I was going to say it would have been mid-80s, 87, 88.
How long did it go for? So did Dial B actually take place at the Tower Ballroom, or Dial B was on at Portland Club and then you moved?
Dial B was on the Portland Club, and then we moved and we started Rococo, which then got stopped by the police, and the club had the Willies, and we ended up doing one at
Hummingbird. Yeah. Shouts out to Sonny. How are you, my friend?
Which was a crazy night.
Justin Bond's putting a timestamp on that, shouting out some names as well. Ming, Naif, Bill. Justin was very vocal, saying that Bill would have a great story to tell as well.
Yeah, DJ'd a lot with Bill. Mm-hmm. We did a lot of stuff together. There was Anthony's above Faces.
That was with Paul, wasn't it? Was that with Paul Hamilton?
That was at Five Ways, wasn't it? Was Faces at Five Ways?
That was at Five Ways, yeah.
What was the one with Paul Hamilton? It was Salvation. No, it was Salvation.
Salvation,
yeah,
They did that. That was at the old Locarno. What was that called at the time? Powerhouse.
Mm-hmm. Someone else mentioned that. It was a small room upstairs, and I was like, I can't even remember that. And I was at all of them. Crazy. So Adam, at what point did you get the DJing bug? Because you didn't DJ for quite a long time, did you?
No, I mean, I was really into the music from 17, 18. I had a friend actually I met around 17, 18, a guy called Josh King-Farlow, who was at Cadbury College, and he was an ex-Etonian who had been kicked out of Eton for, I don't know, I can't remember why, maybe smoking weed or something, but he lived in this massive house in Edgbaston that I ended up moving into, and it was just decked out with, he had turntables, drum machines, drums, bass, guitar. He just had loads of music making equipment, and he was really talented. So I used to be like kind of his bez, I suppose, and have a little go at DJing then. But I was just really into like seeing him create, and got involved. We had a little band together. In fact, a friend of mine's listening, Dave McInerney, who was the drummer in the band. No, was he the drummer? Yes, he was the drummer. Big up to Dave McInerney, who's listening, because he just messaged me. But we had a little band. I was playing bass, Josh was singing and playing guitar. But DJing properly, I suppose, was a bit later. It's when I went to Nottingham.
Okay.
I went to Liverpool University Liverpool Poly for about a term and a half, and then dropped out. And I remember playing at a hip hop night with somebody else's records. So I don't really class that as proper DJing. But then I think I started buying records after that. And yeah, in Nottingham, I did my first ever club night at Venus in 1992, a night called Spank, which is terribly named night. But yeah, that was good fun. That's when I got.
You promoted that night there?
Yeah, it was a student night. So I was in first year at Nottingham, Trent Poly, and me and my friend Jess Williams, we decided to hire Venus on a Tuesday night, persuaded James Bailey to let us hire it. And I think we got about 200 people in. It was all right, and I DJ'd and some other friends played, and started the bug from there, really. I think once you've done one night and it's kind of successful, you're like, okay, well, maybe I don't have to worry about, working. I can just do this for a living.
Oh, how wrong you were. Every time I have to chuckle every time someone mentions Venus. I went many, many times. I don't remember a goddamn thing about it. I just know you went down the stairs to one of the places.
Yeah.
So coming back, if we trying to unscramble the timeline, I have memories of going to one party, Dick. I think it was a cake party, and I don't know why. I just remember being up on a, I think it might have been a benches or something. All the windows, it was like a Victorian building or whatever. All the windows were steamed up, dripping, and there were playing cards stuck all on the windows. That's one of my memories. Does that ring any bells for you?
Yeah. Yeah, Unity House. That was the first cake parties.
Okay, and was I tripping? Was the cards part of the evening, or was there just one playing cards that I saw somewhere?
Oh, he's thinking deep.
He'll come back. He's trying to remember. Had you guys met by this time, Adam?
I met Richard in probably 1988, but I was kind of a fanboy when I first met him. He was like DJ that I looked up to, and he was always lovely. He was always very friendly, and because he knew Sarah Bennett as well, I kind of got to meet him through her, and Mike Horseman and Carol and all that crowd. So Dick was someone that I just kind of knew, but we weren't proper mates until quite a long time later, really, probably the late 90s. But yeah, I'd grown up listening to him DJ and going to his parties. I ended up selling tickets for Snobs All Nighters. So I'd kind of had connections with him, but we weren't good pals until much later.
Right. Okay. So we got you back now, Dick. Did you hear me ask the question about the playing cards? Was that a theme, or did I just find one card on the floor?
That's a good. I don't remember that. You probably found one card on the floor and it turned into multiple packs of cards.
Played with it all night long. So that was at Unity House. How many of those? How many of those parties were there?
Yeah.
How many?
I think we did 2. I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. 2, was it?
I thought it was.
I'm sure it was. It wasn't more than 2,
wasn't it?
More than that. At Unity House, maybe 3. I don't think it was many more.
So this was like late 80s into the turn of the 90s.
Yes. Yeah, it would have been. Yeah.
So after Rococo had finished.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. We hadn't even. That was that before. Yeah, that was before Snobs, wasn't it? It was Adam before we started Snobs.
That's what started Snobs, wasn't it? Because the first night at Snobs that you did called A Piece of Cake.
It was called Piece of Cake, yeah.
Or was it a Buddha?
Breathless on the. Was it Breathless on the Friday and Cake on the Saturday, something like that?
Yeah, but it was called a Buddha.
A Buddha Souffle, yeah.
Right. And alongside all of this, eventually a record label would emerge. Was this running simultaneously, or was this much later?
This would have been when we started. We'd been at Snobs maybe 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
Took over Snobs, called it Breathless, and of course, again, Snobs was a notorious club, shirt and tie, bloodbaths most nights. And when Nigel approached me and said, "Look, we've got a chance to take this place over," I said, "You're mad. You know, we're never going to get anybody in there." And I remember going in there one night on a Friday night, and it was scary. I just wanted to get out. I thought, this isn't going to work, Nigel. It's not going to work. But who was to know that it was a successful club?
All thanks to the February Bras. Brilliant memories of those days. All started off by waiting in the queue and watching them breaking plates next door in the restaurant.
That's right, the Greek restaurant, yeah.
So again, we're still getting people commenting, giving out names and places and years and everything. Hi to Paulette in Nottingham. She says, "Good old Nottingham." So many little twists and turns in the story that when you try and think back to it, it's really difficult to pull it from the depths of the mind. Any other important moments around about this time? By now, of course, Acid House was taking over the world, up and down the UK. Did you ever get to travel out of Birmingham, Dick, DJing?
Yeah, I mean, it happens more when we were, with Snobs, with Breathless. Yeah, we used to go to, I've DJed at Venus a couple of times, Nottingham, went down and played at Shave Your Tongue in London. So little bits, Glasgow for the Slam Boys, so stuff like that. But then it really started to open up once we started the band, Rockers, myself and Glyn starting Rockers, Original Rockers. And then we started to go around the world then and DJ. And
so tell us about that, because that's obviously a very important part of the story.
Yeah, I mean, I knew Glyn from the music scene from years back. Glyn was in many bands, a musician, and he used to promote himself down at the Arts Lab. I don't know if you remember that, down Aston University way. And and I, of course, I've always been a carpenter, and I was, we met one night in a club, we were chatting, and he needed some work doing at his house. So I went round there, and he said, look, I'm really getting into all this electronic music, I want to get a hold of a computer, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, look, why don't we have a go together, I'll bring some records round and blah, blah, blah. I think I actually supplied the computer. I don't know how I got hold of that, but and we started dabbling around, and our first house track was a track called Breathless, which was a crazy record because it was all over the place in terms of bar counts and stuff. Because we gave it to Laurent Garnier to remix, and he just came, this is impossible to remix, it's all over the place. But and then the second track we wrote together was Push Push, and the rest is history.
Yeah. So remind me, I should know, where is the what is the sample from?
Oh, it's from it's Johnny Osborne, and it was I took it from a Scientist dub album called Scientist Rids the World of the Evil Curse of the Vampire.
Catchy title.
Yeah, it's a Johnny Osborne vocal. Great title, great cover as well. And of course, because it was a dub, the part of the Johnny Osborne vocal was stripped away, and it was just all on its own. It was right to be sampled.
Mm-hmm. Great arrangement on that as well. Brilliant arrangement. So you say the rest is history. Please elaborate on that. What came of it?
Well, I mean, the second single blew up. The Push Push blew up in the clubs, and
that was pushed out on your own label, right?
That's right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which was the Cake label at the time.
Yeah.
And we kept writing, and we started to get interest from a couple of record labels, one in particular being Island Records. And we thought we were going to sign to them, then it all went quiet. And we thought, well, that's the end of that. And then all of a sudden we get a phone call, and the owner of Island Records, Blackwell, had called Island UK and said, have you signed Original Rockers yet? And they said, no. Why? He said, you need to sign them now, because their track What a Life is all over LA radio. He says, I want you to sign them. So we got signed by Island Records, and retweaked the album, the Original Rockers out, the Rockers to Rockers album, for an Island release, and released the album with them.
Mm-hmm. Some of the opportunities that led from that, you got to work with some other people, you got to visit some crazy places, elevated to a whole other level, right?
Yeah, and we even met who we sampled, Johnny Osborne. We met him in New York and did a little bit of recording with him. We did a video with him, and he was such a lovely guy. And up until we finished the label, he'd call regularly and have a chat. Just ask how things were going, and yeah, it was good times. Good times.
And how long did that run for?
Wow. Well, I don't know. It didn't last very long with Ireland. We did one album and a couple of singles, and it just went a bit pear-shaped. But within weeks, Warner Brothers came onto us, and the head of Warner's, Burns, said, I'm really a big fan. I want to sign you. And we signed with Warner Brothers Germany, and then that took us up to another level. We released 3 albums with them, I think. So yeah, mad times.
Some of your favorite.
And we were both,
moments?
we were both 30. We were both in our 30s, and we just thought, God, how the hell is this happening to 2 30-year-old guys?
And you mentioned about being a carpenter, still a carpenter by trade now. Was there any point where you down tools?
Yeah. When we signed basically to Island Records, we just said, look,
We've got to give.
Well, actually, no. I stopped before then. Actually, we stopped when we started Snobs, because we could take away. We could take a wage. We could survive on a little wage, and so I became a full-time DJ first, and then of course the music came along, and we got signed. We got an advance. We took on a little space on Bristol Street opposite the Dome, above a piano shop, and we put a studio in there, an office, and we had the label, and for probably 15 years of earning money from music and DJing.
So all through this now, coming through the ranks is young Adam, watching, learning.
I've taught him everything he knows.
There you go. So part of your story then will run parallel with that, and you guys would have got to know each other. So after the early 90s in Nottingham and the parties that you did in Venus, you said you got the taste for it. Where did that then progress?
Carried on doing as much DJing as I could in Nottingham. So I'd get like regular bar gigs, and then we'd do one-off parties and house parties. And towards the end of my 3rd year, my partner at the time, her brother and his mate Rob, they opened a medicine bar in Islington. So I would be going down from Nottingham maybe once a month or once every couple of weeks and DJing for them in the bar. I used to hitchhike or get the train, jump on the train and hide in the toilets all the way down because I didn't have any money. And they weren't paying me much. But they were just really happy days. So I started DJing there regularly and then getting a few more gigs in London when they did nights at other places. And was all due to, it was all set to move to London in 95. I think October 95 was just about to sign on a house in Islington. And Jonathan and Rob said, we've been chatting to this guy called Simon Jones that runs Athletico. And he's got a potential venue in Birmingham for us to do a medicine bar, which was medicine bar at the Custard Factory. And they said, do you want to get involved in that? And so I didn't ever go to London. I ended up being assistant manager of that place for a year. And then I went on to co-manage it with a friend of mine called Lynn, and had a very happy time there. So that kind of kept me in Birmingham. So DJing regularly at the medicine bar, booking the DJs. And that's when I got to know Dick properly, because I booked him to play at the medicine bar with Glyn, I think, first couple of times. You were still rockers.
Yeah.
And then we do things like jump on a coach and go down and watch rockers do a gig in the Crypt. Where was that Crypt gig?
That was, wasn't it Trafalgar Square somewhere? Was it
somewhere somewhere mad, like in
yeah.
Like it was a rockers sort of album launch or something.
That's right.
Mad Brummies getting on a coach from the medicine bar down to London.
Yeah.
So I kind of did that, and then I went traveling in about 97 for a bit, came back, and then just carried on with the DJing, really. Met the Money Pennies lot. They'd given me a few gigs in their second room at Bond's. So I'd play up in the second room with Justin Bond and various other people. And then they started booking me for Chuff Chuff, and they're booking me to play in Ibiza. So I had a really good time with those guys. They taught me a lot as well. And they're all really nice sound people. I think I've been lucky to be influenced by people like the Ryans and Lee Garrick and Dick. Like, always taught me about just being decent people, you know, like just being honest people. So I kind of learned a lot and I had good times with them. And then I suppose 1999, we started playing football, didn't we? So like all the autograph lot, Ming and Carl, used to play a five-a-side football on a Wednesday night, and Dick used to play as well. And so we were playing together, and used to get quite fiery and competitive. And I think one of the days he was giving me a lift home, and he said, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just a bit of DJ and a bit of this, bit of that." He said, "Do you want to come and work at the label?" I was like, "Bloody hell, yeah, too right, I do." So like I went and started working at which was Different Drummer by then.
Yeah.
So in late 99, and we talked about starting a club night in Brum. And we're like, "What sort of club night do we want to do?" It's like, "Well, we want to play everything. We want to play across the board, you know. Start off with a bit of dub and reggae, go through a bit of hip hop, play a bit of soul, a bit of jazz, a bit of, you know, disco, a bit of house, drum and bass, or everything." And there weren't that many clubs playing the sort of stuff we like. So we thought, let's do our own thing. And every Wednesday we'd play football, and every time he took a shot with his left foot, he used to shout, "Left foot!" and the ball would go flying.
No, not always.
Miles from the goal. Always flying miles from the goal. And we were like, "Left foot, that's catchy." And they were like, "Let's do a night called Left Foot." And that's how it started. So, and then in 99, in December, we did a party. Before it became a club, there was, in the Medicine Bar, was just a bar space. And I think they'd knocked through into the club, but they hadn't finished painting it or something. So we ended up just doing the party in the bar itself with this big sound system. And the soul jazz guys from London came up and did a 100% Dynamite party. And that was our first kind of unofficial one. And then the first official Leftfoot one was January 2000 with Kev Darge. And then we just did every month for 5 years.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. You know, had some of the best times of my life there, really.
Is it fair to say that you guys were responsible really for the regeneration of Digbeth way back then?
I think the Medicine Bar had a huge impact. Obviously, there were things going on. Someone had a go at me the other day when we were having a chat about Digbeth and the Medicine Bar's importance. I was like, "Yeah, but there were lots of other things," and that's true. You know, Sweat were doing a night at the Dance Factory. House of God, of course, were doing regular things at the Institute. There were big house nights. Like, was it Love Revolution that used to go on at the Institute?
Scott Bond.
Yeah, Love Revolution. That was Andy Jones, wasn't it, from Wolverhampton?
Wasn't it Scott?
Andy Jones.
Wasn't it Scott Bond?
I think he might have DJ'd there. He was doing something else.
Jones, yeah, Andy Jones.
Okay.
It was Wolverhampton. It was definitely a Wolverhampton night.
Yeah. Love Revolution.
Not Richie Roberts.
No, it was before that. But no, there were obviously things happening in Digbeth. Right. Don't get me wrong. There were, you know, Digbeth obviously already had venues and loads of little pubs and things happening. But in terms of where Digbeth has gone, the Medicine Bar definitely sparked that whole kind of wave, really, because you wouldn't have had the Rainbow if you didn't have the Medicine Bar, you know. So yeah, I mean, it was a very important place, and all credit to Simon and Alex and Kirsty, who did an Athletico party there. They were the first people to do party at the Custard Factory, and that's what led to it then becoming the Medicine Bar with John and Rob. So yeah, they were really like, it was nothing like Digbeth is now. There was nothing there really, apart from, it was still a very industrial place apart from the Custard Factory. But yeah, for those first years when it became a club, so from 2000 to 2005, I mean, it was one of the best places in the country without a doubt. It was just, so we were doing Leftfoot there. There was Substance doing the hip hop nights. There was Procreation, doing house nights. There was Capsule, started there. Trigger. There were loads of like really big nights all were on rotation there. And it was just felt like a gang of friends, just all into different types of music. Then no one was really stepping on each other's toes. They all had different vibes, but we all supported each other and crossed over and went to each other's nights. And it was just a magical time, really. I don't think I would be doing what I do for a living now if it hadn't been for that formative kind of period.
Well, I enjoyed a Choice FM party there that we did one bank holiday, and then the Bacardi event with Masters at Work, which was incredible. I remember having to get carried away from that party. One minute I was dancing behind the decks. The next thing I woke up in someone's flat in Hockley, just like, what's going on here? Good times. All right, so wow. See, all of these are things that I'd long since forgotten about. So that especially the Leftfoot parties, because then in hindsight, seeing the events that continued down the years, but so that's where it all began. And Dick, were you still going out and traveling around and doing other things, or had you then just started to focus purely on Leftfoot? And had you gone back to work by this point?
No. We still run the label. We still worked at the label together, and we started a Leftfoot, the label Leftfoot, which we wanted to be even more dance floor orientated. So we released Ella Fitzgerald's "Sunshine of Your Love." What else did we do, Az?
Mark, I think Chris Todd from Crazy P did a 12, and we did Noise Shaper moving together with the various mixes. We didn't do. I think we only did like 3 releases because it was towards the time where everything started to go tits up.
And we still went out DJing, didn't we? We travelled a little bit DJing.
We were because Rockers Hi-Fi had essentially stopped being a thing. Yeah. Glyn moved down to Dorset, and they weren't making it together anymore. But Richard was still getting a lot of inquiries from European club nights and festivals about him DJing. And he was like, well, why don't we start a different drummer sound system kind of thing? So that would be me and Richard and either Kevin Tweed or Patrick Farder P. Sometimes Reese as well, Reese Adams, who was in the studio, he would come out. So there was a little collective of 5 of us, and we'd go off and do like festivals in Austria and Switzerland and France and Germany and Hungary. And those were amazing times for me because Leftfoot was flying in Birmingham. Yeah. And we'd go off and do these incredible gigs as different drummer sound system, which, I ended up going to loads of places that I'd never been and having some amazing experiences and, seeing some European clubs in action really and realizing that they did things really well, especially in Germany. It's like insane, like the production. And Austria, to be fair, the Flex Club in Austria was incredible, wasn't it? It was a very fruitful and kind of influential period for me. And we got involved with Krudendorfmeister and the different drummer compilation. Yeah, that's true, because the 10 years of different drummer compilation, which came out in 2005, we were just sitting in the office chatting about what angle to go with. It's like we wanted to do a best of the label. And I can't remember which one of us said, probably me, to be honest. Let's ask Richard Dorfmeister to mix it.
It was you.
I think it was me. And Richard was like, yeah, cool. So we rang him up and he was, I absolutely love to. I love the label. So we sent him a load of tracks and a load of like little snippets. So we got Farder P in the studio doing some little bits, and we recorded. The last track on that album is basically me and Richard in hysterics trying to leave a voice message on the different drummer answer phone. So it was all little bits like that kind of gave it a little bit of personality. And to be honest, it's an amazing compilation. It really flows well. Richard Dorfmeister did a great job of putting it together, and that flew. We went from selling, 2,000-3,000 max of a release, and we did 25,000 copies of that. Wow. And we were like, fucking hell, this is like,
and the rest.
Was it to do more than that?
Yeah, we did more than that. 40,000 it was.
Was it?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Really? I always tell people 25. I'm going to start upping that.
He owes you money. Yeah. He owes you money, Ed.
Yeah.
Well, we never saw any money.
Unfortunately,
we're still looking for it.
Yeah, unfortunately, that was kind of like started the end of Different Drummer, really, because we were obviously due a hell of a lot of money and started making plans for the next 5 or 6 releases with actual budgets to promote them and remixes and all sorts. And the distributor that had sold all those copies for us went bust.
Yeah,
and we didn't see any of it.
Gutted.
Not one penny.
Gutted.
Yeah.
Absolutely gutted. So did that then start the beginning of the end?
Yeah, oh definitely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So tell us.
It also combined with me having my first child. So my daughter was born, and then not long afterwards I had twins. I think the label went bump purely off the back of. I mean, you kept it going, didn't you, on your own?
I was sitting there and then there on my own, trying to work things out and get things back up on track, and I was becoming more miserable and depressed. And
yeah, we had to have an intervention in the end, didn't I?
Yeah, you and Tracy, my wife.
Yeah, me and Tracy had to go. Listen, it ain't coming back. We're not getting that money. You're gonna have to knock it on the head, and he's gonna send you insane. He was just like sitting in the Different Drummer office on his own, just trying to make it work, and it was
just rocking in his slippers.
Exactly, yeah.
Mad. Yeah. And that's when you decided to go back on the tools, wasn't it? And you just, you've got a great skill. You might as well use it. So
yeah,
he went back on the tools, and I did a couple of years teaching with Lee Fisher at Access to Music College, which I realised wasn't for me at all. I just wasn't very good at it, and then realised that I needed to do something quick because Leftfoot had kind of really slowed down. Medicine Bar had sort of slowed down. I ended up working for Simon for a while as promotions manager for the whole venue. And then Rob Wheeler, who I said earlier about who was one of the owners of the Medicine Bar, was like, we kept sort of saying, we should do a bar in Birmingham. And we looked at loads of different places, like the Jug of Ale in Moseley and the Old Contemptibles and various other things. And then eventually bought the Bull's Head off Simon Jones, who
the Bull's Head. That's what jumps out of my mind. I'm going to come straight back to you about that. Loads of people commenting, loads of people watching. Thanks for being here, folks. As soon as we finish speaking this evening, the whole of the interview will be up on my wall. So we're multiply broadcasting at the moment on my own profile and also on the Inspire and Be Inspired. So whoever's commenting, you can see your comments coming up on the screen. We have got a majority of people in both different pages, so be sure to check out the recording to hear very interesting stories. And I want to say thank you to everybody for commenting. So do continue, Adam. Forgive me. Yeah. So the Bull's Head.
Yeah. So me and Rob took the Bull's Head on in 2006, I think. I ran it for a year myself as kind of manager, and then at the same time, I think maybe towards the end of that year, Nick Morgan and Tat, I'd been involved with, they were from Big Cat, a company called Big Cat. I'd worked with them on a festival and been involved in various things with them. And they said, have you seen that the Hare and Hounds is up for lease? I was like, yeah, but it's massive. And I don't know, it's not the kind of place I'd want to take on. King's Heath wasn't kind of like anything that was really going on there, and the Hare and Hounds was a notorious pub, but had kind of been run into the ground a little bit and was just an old man's pub, really. So we went and had a look at it and could see the potential. And we put a business plan together. And we were up against someone else that wanted to turn it into a music venue, and then someone that wanted to turn it into a eat as much as you like Chinese buffet.
Wow.
And thankfully for South Birmingham, for King's Heath in particular, we got it, and it wasn't turned into eat as much as you like Chinese buffet. Nothing against Chinese food, it would be great, but I mean, it's such an important building, and with so much heritage that it needed to be taken back to, its glory. And we started doing that, and it didn't happen at once. Richard came in and did the refurb on it in 2007. and I think he was still sanding a floor in as everyone was coming for the first night's party. He still had the lift going across the toilet.
Did you ask him? Did you ask him to put down the tools and pick up the headphones for any of the early parties?
He did do a little bit in the early days, but I think we did some really good parties together. Bull's Head, I'd say more so. We're like me and you DJing at the Bull's Head, right? But I think he started to just, at the phase which I'm at now, you kind of start to wind down and don't want to be out late, and it was the start of the end for you, wasn't it, in terms of DJ?
Yeah. I mean, really, I started losing heart at some of the later Leftfoot gigs, my heart wasn't into it, to the point where I ended up not DJing at Leftfoot, and I just did the door, didn't I?
Yeah, you were the grim gatekeeper.
I was the grim gatekeeper.
Mm.
If you've not got big hair, you're not coming in.
Yeah, no one got it.
Eyeliner, no guy liner, not getting in.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it was. I think DJing is obviously had been such a big part of his life, and he'd done it since he was such a young age. It was inevitable that, I mean, some people obviously still really enjoy DJing in their 60s. There's plenty of DJs on the scene that are still doing it, but I think for you just started losing the love of being out and being in busy clubs and loud clubs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I relate to that. So there's a huge story. It's mental when you say 2007. So almost relatively 15 years of history at the Hare and Hounds. I mean, we're not under any time constraints, but try and condense some of your finer moments, some of the biggest challenges that you faced there, because I do know there have been a hell of a lot of ups and downs along the way there.
I think when you take on a building like that, that's got such, I mean, it's a grade 2 listed building for a start. So the upkeep of it is insane, as Richard will confirm.
Do you get inspected? Does that mean you have to be inspected every now and again to make sure that you are keeping within certain parameters? Or
no, you have to, but when you do any work on certain parts of the building, you have to do applications and you have to get planning officers out to have a look at it. So we did a lot of work on the exterior of the building. Richard did a lot of the work, so rebuilding a lot of the wooden timber frame windows and on the outside York Road side of the building, and we had to get an officer out to inspect all the work, and thankfully she passed it. But I mean, he did a great job. It looks amazing, but it's very costly and it's very time consuming. But yeah, I mean, in the first few years of that place, the biggest challenge was trying to convince people that it wasn't just a pub. Mm-hmm. So obviously I had a lot of contacts with agents and DJs and bands and whatever, and you'd have to convince them that it wasn't just playing in, because I think people think Hare and Hounds, you're playing in the corner of a pub, and obviously yes, you can do that downstairs. We have regular things downstairs, but the venues upstairs are very much venues. It doesn't matter that they're above a pub.
So before we get into the club aspect of it, what was the local reaction like from the local community for what you were attempting to do?
Mixed. You had
to say the least.
Yeah. You had most of the old regulars and the old crowd hated it and hated me, and I still to this day get dirty looks off certain people. But it is what it is. They kind of moved on to the Goose and the Wetherspoons, so it's not like they were kicked out of the area. They just didn't want to come to the Hare anymore. But there was obviously a lot of people that were into music and young creatives and people that wanted to go to a nice place in King's Heath that were supportive of it. And thankfully, the people that supported it far outnumber the people that didn't like how it had gone.
So you've gentrified King's Heath now, basically.
Someone said this the other day. I don't know about gentrification. Yeah, I suppose we have, but to a degree. But as a music venue, mm-hmm. the days of kind of like the Jug of Ale was a great place back in its day, but it wouldn't work now, because venues need to be competitive in terms of they need to have great sound systems. Sound systems ain't cheap. They need to have great production. They need to have great facilities. So we've tried to make the Hare as good as we can possibly make it. So, we spent fortunes, literally fortunes on, the L-acoustic rigs in both rooms now, a 150 cap and a 250 cap, both with L-acoustic rigs is pretty spectacular considering how much they cost. So the sound is great, and we always made sure the hospitality was great. So those kind of things gradually help you build it up, and then you get more bands. And obviously the connection with UB40 was a big selling point. The fact that they did their first ever gig there, and they've been really supportive since I've had it. They I think they've done 3 shows at the venue since I've had it. And Brian Travers, who sadly passed away a few months ago, he was like a good friend and a regular, who'd be in there all the time and playing in various bands. So we obviously had a big, really strong connection with UB40, which gave us a national profile through that. Mm-hmm. And then just building up the repertoire, really, of people that played there. So obviously I'd take all the DJs that I'd worked with for years, like Giles and Scruff and Norman J, but then started introducing a lot more live bands. And having people like Roy Ayres and Marlena Shaw and Breakestra and, all kinds of stuff, Grandmaster Flash. So we'd be putting real big kind of legendary names into this 250 cap venue. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like...
And not always a surefire hit, right?
No, we didn't. I think in the first year we lost loads of money, and it was looking a bit ropey, and I was thinking, why didn't I just stay at the Bull's Head, which was doing all right? But we persevered, and then thankfully, I think year 2, I cocked up on the bookings. I double booked the main room, and it was Capsule, Lisa and Jenny that run Capsule were due to do a night, and I double booked it, and they went, well, what about that spare room you've got along the corridor, which was just like a big junk room full of like old green Irish Guinness hats from St. Patrick's Day and like Christmas decorations from the 70s. And Warren Fisher, who runs Urban Audio, who does all our PAs, he came in for a meeting, and we looked at the room. We were like, yeah, we could have half a go at this, and cleared it out, put a PA in there and some lights, and Capsule did a party in there, or a live gig. And it worked really well. We're like, right, let's turn this into a venue. So Dick came in and built the bar, and we got the license, turned it into a venue. So that was when it started to click, when we had 2 rooms and you could do 2 shows at once, where there were separate ticketed shows. We went from having a 250 to having a 400 cap room upstairs. I said, well, two rooms that totaled 400 cap, and things started to roll. And then, my partners, John Nash got involved, I think maybe 2 years after. And then a couple of years after that, Matt Beck, who was promoting This Is Tomorrow, which was a really cool live indie band brand. He got involved, and it's gone from strength to strength, really. Matt as the chief booker, who's just got a real ear for music and new music, and has really built up an incredible program, and hats off to him, really. A lot of that is down to him, and his ability to book, and his ability to find new talent, and to keep that stuff rolling in. So yeah, it's kind of grown, and here we are, post-pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Well, you say post-pandemic, I don't really want to go on about it too much. I don't want to go on about it at all, really. But have you squeaky bum time at the moment with any twists and turns that you're waiting to happen, especially for Christmas and New Year?
Yeah, we just got to, I think tomorrow we've got to announce what our COVID rules are going to be, because we, unfortunately, if you're open past 1 o'clock in the morning, you're classed as a late night venue. So for the nights where we've got live bands on and stuff in the week and we shut at 12, we don't really have to do anything, but for anything after that, when we're open after 1, we have to check people's COVID status, which is
follow the protocols. Right, let's leave all of that nonsense behind, even though I'm sure it's a lot more than nonsense for yourself. An incredible history. Dick, while you've been listening to all of that, is there anything that sprung to mind that you thought, you know what, I didn't even mention this, there's that part that I didn't talk about? And when looking back, is there any things that you think you could have done differently, or are you over the moon with the way that everything began from
Yeah.
those early nights in Barbarella's?
Yeah, no, got no complaints. No complaints. I've had a good time. Been very lucky.
Well, I always say it whenever it's nothing to do with luck, mate. It's all about your hard work and your talent that's got you to where you are. And I only really ever talk to nice people. Everybody I speak to, really humble, down to earth. Not many people could have or would have a bad word to say about you. And Adam also as well. I say the same thing. A very, very hard working. You've responsible for a lot of things, a lot of really cool things. You've really helped to, Birmingham has got some really cool things going on for it now, but you are definitely part of the blueprint of why that's happened. So I got to commend the both of you guys. I really don't think that we've even scratched the surface really on your stories. There's a hell of a lot more to be told, and I think that one evening you guys should get together with a recorder and a couple of bottles of beer. And really get more of the story down. I'm sure people would love to hear a full in-depth. Well, I'm sure we have been in depth, but a fuller podcast of some of the naughty things that you don't really want to talk about on air.
Well, we should maybe record them. We have a sort of an irregular gathering of 5 of us friends. We call it the Unbelievable Gentlemen's Club.
Right.
And we drink ales and and put the world to rights, and that's probably where we should do it.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's with Brian Nordoff from Electribe and 101 and Groove Corp, and Liam Scully from the Discovery, and another friend of ours, Ben Stokes. And it's basically old men being appalling, generally.
It sounds amazing. I wish I lived closer. I'd like to be an honorary guest one time.
Oh, you can be an honorary guest, Andy. Right, we do have guest slots.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic. Well, gentlemen, as always, I think I would be more than happy to sit and listen to you guys all night, but I think I have taken up more than enough of your time. Thank you both again for giving me your evening. Dick, did you get any idea on the scores?
Yeah, I'll tell you now. We're 1-0 up.
Oh, yeah. You're not.
Okay,
40 minutes,
I'll let you go and catch.
We're all over them.
Catch the second half. Oh. These guys, Villa and Blues fans, head to head. So lovely to see them. Such good friends, guys. You go and finish watching the football. Thank you so much. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for having us.
Respect. And there you go. Hopefully I have pressed the button and the two of them are kicked off of my Zoom. You're going to go now, guys. I'll see you later. And let me just come back to you and say a few words. Inspire and be inspired. Weekly conversations that I have every Tuesday night, 7:00 your time. If you happen to be passing through, and it's your first time that you're seeing this, there's a whole heap of other great chats that I've been having with more legends from Birmingham and beyond. So do take a look on my YouTube channel. It's where you can find all of the conversations. I can see many people here have been liking and commenting throughout the chat. Shouts out to KJ, hi to Paul, hi to Esther, to Dan, to Hassan, and to Jans, who I knew also liked the video through the week. Drop me a comment. Let me say hi to you guys. Let me scroll through. Hi, Colette. Nice to see you. A fan of the Hare and Hounds. Shouts out to Justin for all of your comments throughout that. I didn't want to interrupt the guys talking, but we will be talking to Justin Bond a couple of weeks after the new year. He's got a huge story to tell himself. Hi to Chris Harris, stateside, and shouts out to Fernando and Lisa. Thank you for passing through. Jeremy, nice to see you, my friend. I hope you, I say I hope, I'm sure you found that Birmingham conversation interesting. Thank you, my friend. It won't be too long before we get in to hear your story as well. Shouts out to Brian Tomlinson. Up the blues. Shouts out to Alex as well. How are you, my friend? Anybody else? Let me just scroll up, see if there's anybody that I missed. Magoo, respect out to you, my friend. And there's so many other people were commenting earlier on that I may have missed. Shouts out to Mr. Chambers as well. You can see here on the screen next Tuesday a deeper conversation I'm going to be having. A young lady who lives local to myself here in Spain is going to be telling her story. Tonight was Brum as fuck. Next Tuesday, we're saying fuck cancer. One woman's story of her journey from discovery to treatment, recovery, and beyond. I know this is something that's going to touch a hell of a lot of people. Not necessarily anything to do with music, but a very, very inspirational story. And I recommend that you come and check it out. And once again, I say, please do go back and take a look at all of the videos that we've been recording before. You may have noticed I've got a new angle now in the studio. I just had a little bit of a move around in the week. Can't really see from here, but if I change to this camera here, you can see here I am sat. I'm in a different angle now. Before I used to be facing into the corner there. Got all the music behind me. The deck's here. So whenever I'm going to do some live sessions and whatnot, it's all good to go. Right. I always say when I finish talking, I feel like I've taken up more than enough of your time. Thank you for being here, guys. The absolute utmost respect to Dick and to Adam. And thank you to all of my Access members who allow me to do this with their subscriptions on a monthly basis. If you're at all interested, then there is a link coming up at the end of this video how you can get involved and support as well. Thank you, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening.